Compared to some of the ancient cities of Europe and the elderly eastern United States, there isn't much history in Oklahoma. It's a reasonable assumption about a state with barely 100 candles on its cake, but entirely inaccurate. Our state's history extends from well before statehood, well before white people even thought of living here. And the collection of that history, the state's corporate memory, has a new home.
One of the things that we hope occurs here is that all Oklahomans, regardless of who they are, regardless of where they live, feel that this is theirs. This belongs to them.
It is a $59 million project intended to preserve and display the Historical Society's collection well into the 22nd century.
How will they tell the story? Will they have technology that we've never dreamed of? Yes. Will it be holograms? Will it be creating settings of communities from the 1920s where you walk into this virtual reality? Probably.
On this edition of Stateline, the story of the Oklahoma History Center and the people who were and are and will be making history.
The Historical Society was created in 1893 to collect newspapers. Territory Press Association said, we've got these first drafts of history every day, let's collect them. So that urge started the Oklahoma Historical Society in 1893.
Our old building was a beautiful building. We loved it in many, many ways, but it was a building from the 1920s, and it did not give us the flexibility to do what we needed to do as museum professionals, to share these wonderful artifacts, to share the heritage of the state.
It was designed in a time before central heat and air. The environmental conditions have been impossible. For 40 years, we've been out of space.
I was brought in by the leadership of the OHS and the board of directors, basically to reinvent the State Museum.
After 6 years in planning and construction, the $59 million Oklahoma History Center is said to be of Smithsonian standard. It is a museum of great size, accommodation, and symbolism. Its sole purpose, to tell the story of this great state in a way that brings history to life.
I think that the timing of the History Center is extremely important. We'll be celebrating the centennial of Oklahoma history, celebrating 1907. Well, a lot of people don't celebrate 1907. That was the end of the Indian nations. That was the end of communal ownership of the land. 1907 is when the federal government says, well, you take the Germans from Russia, you take these Southern immigrants, you take these African Americans who are fleeing the Jim Crow laws of the South, you take these Northern traditions, and you all live together. Well, for decades, we did not live together very well.
One of the things that we're working to create here is to share the extraordinary nature of the history of the state. The history here is unlike that of any other place, and it's something that Oklahomans can and should be proud of. Too often we think that sometimes people don't really realize the extraordinary nature of the area in which we live and the wonderful nature of the people, the characters, the events that have occurred here. The reality of history is better than any fiction you're ever going to read.
We're an artificial creation. Our history is not unified. We were not settled all at one time. We had the land runs, but we also had Indian allotment. We had the different land runs. The no man's land came in a different way. Every boundary that creates the state of Oklahoma was created for a reason other than the state of Oklahoma. So the Capitol is a symbol of that unity. When we started the project, we wanted to be close to the state Capitol. They decided to push this building as close as possible to the Capitol. and built it on an axis with the Capitol. So when you came in the building, the first thing you see is you're coming through the front door is not an exhibit, it's not artifacts, it is the Capitol itself.
Dr. Bob Blackburn was a born history buff. At the age of 13, he preferred textbooks to comics, and in 1979, his dream job was to be the editor of the Oklahoma Chronicles. Today, he is the director for the Oklahoma Historical Society, leading history's journey into the future, and that future resides in this new museum.
We started planning for the Oklahoma History Center in 1998. The legislature and the governor at the time says, tell us what you need, let's do a plan. And it was funded with the first phase in '99. So we started real work at that point with the architects and the planners. And since then, it's just been work every day of the week, 7 days a week, almost 20 hours a day.
One of the things that we hope occurs here is that all Oklahomans, regardless of who they are, regardless of where they live, feel that this is theirs. This belongs to them.
The Historical Society hired Dan Provo to oversee the new museum.
Getting history out of the box, making it come alive, sharing it with people in a way that hopefully encourages their understanding and their sense of wonder and their fun in having it. I mean, these are fun things. Some of these stories are so amazing and so remarkable, and that's part of it, is it should be fun. It shouldn't be dry, it shouldn't be dusty, it shouldn't be boring. It should be alive, and you should be able to touch it and feel it and smell it and see what it was really like.
Until the 1950s, the site was surrounded by oil derricks.
The exhibits that the public will see when we open are a product of a team effort. The OHS staff came up with the themes. We started off with a decision 7 years ago. We would tell our story not chronologically, make people slog through 10,000 years of history like it was a survival course, but that we would do it topically. We would treat it more like a shopping mall. Let's give people more than they can see in one visit, but let's provide it topically. So we decided we would do military history, educational history, politics and government, American Indians, African Americans, the Civil War. And we would tell these stories individually. We also made a decision that every one of our exhibits would go from a broad theme, like the importance of military history, down to the story of one individual person.
Colonel Roosevelt came today. I have met him and had quite a talk about matters. He is quite different from Wood. He is a man of intense action.
Or one individual community, or one individual event.
A visit to the new History Center will begin in images of Oklahoma.
Everyone comes into a museum with preconceptions of what they thought they knew, and so much of what people think they know about Oklahoma has come from entertainers, from photographers, from radio and television. So we're going to say, well, here's the image you thought you knew, and then we will launch them into what the history really is.
Now, we've got more footage, the different scenes of the horses heading towards the camera.
Bill Moore is the video production specialist and film archive caretaker for the Oklahoma Historical Society. He is responsible for every piece of video and audio in the new museum and helped design several exhibits, including images.
This is the images of Oklahoma, and that's where you're at. This is the exhibit. We have had a lot of Oklahomans who have produced amazing images, and that's not only for news and the entertainment field. This is the culture area over here, culture and the arts. And you can see the Oklahomans who have been involved in the movies and in opera and dance. It's just amazing.
Do you want to lead off with him looking at this watch before we get into her narration?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a good start.
As opening day drew ever closer, Moore stayed busy behind the scenes, putting together all the video and audio clips that will be used in each exhibit.
We have approximately 60 video projects in the building, and counting the clips that go within those, where there'll be some that will be selections where you can punch one of 6 buttons and watch a clip. Probably a little over 100 different video clips I'm putting together for this.
The preparation process for each video is tedious.
If you think about it, The researcher, the curator, has to go into our archives, find the photos, know that that photo is of that event, and know what story that photo tells, how it fits in with the tape we're trying to put together. Then you have to know what film footage is available. Then you have to know how to put all this together.
As you watch these videos, pay close attention. The voices telling the stories might be familiar to you.
Okay, Billy, whenever you're ready.
The sounds of cannons booming, guns firing, and bugles blowing at noon on April 22nd, 1889.
We have a lot of folks who have volunteered. A couple that would be familiar to people in Oklahoma would be Billy Roadley, who works at OETA now and has been in radio for years. Jennifer Reynolds, who worked at Channel 9. We just have had a lot of folks who have said, I want to help, what can I do? And so we take advantage of that because that's part of Oklahoma.
The sounds of cannons booming, guns firing, and bugles blowing at noon on
The number of videos included in this museum is part of this team's effort to bring history to life and make the museum experience at the Oklahoma History Center unlike any other.
We found that a lot of museums look like prisons. You know, of course, light is your enemy in a museum, and you're protecting everything. And so in a lot of museums, you would drive up and you'd wonder, how do you get into this fortress? Well, we wanted to make it much more inviting. There's a factor of museum fatigue. As you go to museums, next time you go, think about it, after about 2 hours, your eyes start getting tired. Your feet, of course, get tired. Maybe the back starts to hurt. And so we wanted to deal with museum fatigue, and one way is to change your routine. So as you're going through a museum gallery, you're typically going to be about 2 or 3 feet away from the exhibit. And so your field of focus is based on a certain space. We have a film theater in every one of the galleries where you get to sit down and rest a little bit and watch a movie. So you go from watching a movie with a field of focus from about 25 feet back to looking at the exhibits. Then you're looking up at exhibits on a vertical nature. Then back out into this great hall. We're hoping to keep people here as long as possible and then hopefully get them to come back.
The Oklahoma History Center is a compilation of the best features of some of this nation's best museums. Organizers focused on the task at hand, but were also aware of the buzz about the work around the country and around the world.
Our exhibit designers, who are out of Leicester, England, say that they have never seen a museum that has told a regional story as we are telling it in this museum. So we're breaking new ground, not only in terms of the quality of the facilities, but in the way we tell the story. The strength of our collection at the Oklahoma Historical Society is our Indian material.
The outdoor oil and gas exploration and drilling area was not part of the concept that was originally part of this whole building project.
Now we're able to bring a lot of those artifacts out and let everyone see them.
The Oklahoma History Center has 4 large galleries to display artifacts that tell this state's story. Together, these galleries have more actual exhibit space than the nation's largest such museum, the Minnesota History Center.
We've got close to 50 different individual topics. Within those 50 individual topics, there's over 800 graphic panels, each with text with multiple images. We've got close to 200 interactive components, anything from a simple open the door to a computer interactive to a mechanical do this or do that. All those different components come into play. Every part of this in its own way is special. Every part of it tells a story. Every part of it communicates something, shares something, illustrates something that all by themselves are individually worthy of attention and of consideration. You put them together and you create extraordinary mixes.
The first gallery, Images of Oklahoma, addresses perceptions of Oklahoma as seen through Hollywood.
Look at that. All them wagons headed for the Oklahoma Territory.
and the importance of Oklahoma's media in our everyday lives, our collective experience in modern history.
For us baby boomers, we remember Foreman Scotty and 3D Danny.
Hey, Unicorpman, how are you today? My name is Andy Dynamo, Superintendent of the Space Science Center and Supreme Galaxy Chief in the Universe Science Corps. I salute you.
And they were real to us because they were part of our own experience growing up. So when people come into this museum and they see Woody the Birthday Horse from Foreman Scotty's show, or they see the murals of Ida B. or Betty Boyd, then that will take them back to their own memories. And if we can touch your memory and start through that portal and then bring you back into the real story.
The visitor will go from the Images exhibit into the American Indian Gallery, the most extensive exhibit in the History Center.
And as they walk through the exhibits on how the American Indian culture has evolved and the connections between the warrior traditions of the 1860s and Quanah Parker on the High Plains and the story of that Osage woman who serves in Desert Storm, you're going to see a little bit of the Museum of the American Indian at the Smithsonian. We were able to get a national grant to pull together a planning team of elders, of American Indian scholars who helped us. And we included them not at the review stage. Before we ever put anything on paper, we asked them to come in to meet with us. I'll never forget the meeting. I said, we're here today to start this journey of how we tell this story. I had total silence. Tim Tall Chief, a friend, knew me well enough. He said, Bob, we're stunned because no one has ever asked us to help create the original idea. We're always asked to review what's been done by a staff. In this case, we asked them to come up with the original ideas. They came up with the organization of the gallery, which was origins, it was dwellings, language, spirituality, and lifeways. This is the third floor. On this floor, we have two more exhibit galleries. This direction is the exhibit on farm and ranch, and the fact that Oklahoma is rural by nature. Our institutions, whether it's education, politics, and government, all reflects that rural origin of the state. As you can see through the gallery, we have a wagon that made the land run of 1889 unsuccessfully. So the same family came back in 1893 to the Cherokee Outlet and got land. They later donated that wagon to us. So we get personal. Instead of just telling the story of land runs in general, we tell the story of one family. They came looking for land in '89, disappointed, came back, finally got it. Perseverance, Oklahoma stories. The other direction is the exhibit on natural resources, transportation, business development. As you enter the gallery, you see the transportation history from water in our riverboat story, and the dugout canoes of the Spiroans, and railroad history and aviation. And then parallel with that is natural resources. What are the tools that our business people had to create jobs and to find markets? Well, transportation is the way you get natural resources to market, and then that leads to business. So as you're going down this one gallery looking at natural resources and transportation, then you discover business history, the Leadway Freight Company, Sonic's drive-ins. You see the story of Ditch Witch and the trencher developed by Ed Malzahn in 1948. Then that leads you into the Turner Turnpike story, which leads you into stories of Beverly's Chicken in the Rough and C.R. Anthony's stores that was responding to these changing markets, changing transportation, changing natural resources. It's also where we have a gallery on the African American experience in Oklahoma, all the way from migration of slaves westward with the 5 civilized tribes to their involvement in the Civil War, the creation of the all-black towns, the struggles for civil rights, the stories of the 1950s and desegregating higher education.
This museum does indeed belong to the people of Oklahoma. Literally, most of the items on display here were donated by Oklahomans.
Since we started the History Center, people have started saying, oh, well, I've got this collection, are you interested? And we've been able to bring in collections that fill a gap. Unfortunately, this organization quit collecting aggressively in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. They'd run out of space. They said, well, hey, we don't have any more space, so they'd say no. Well, we're having to go back and fill those gaps. I'm very pleased that Jim has made this donation. We will preserve it and use it and share it for future generations. We appreciate everything you've done. Thank you very much. Thank you. Jim Palmer, a pioneer in radio, brought in the collection from WKY. We have original footage from historical events in Oklahoma. So in the future, if we talk about the bombing of the Murrah building, or if we talk about OU football, or we talk about news events that are important to us, we will have the words of a reporter from that time to share with a visitor. We may not use it this year or next year, but someone's going to have that in 50 years or 100 years.
Oklahomans, individuals, and corporations keep stepping forward to add to history's haul. Such generosity is making the History Center bigger and better.
As you all know, the Oklahoma History Center is really the crown jewel in Oklahoma. This is a fabulous facility that will be Smithsonian caliber, that will help preserve Oklahoma's culture and heritage throughout the ages, but it will also help bridge us to the future, because if we don't understand the past, we're certainly going to have troubles in the future. Well, today the crown jewel gets a little bit brighter thanks to a great corporate citizen, Devon Energy, and its wonderful leader, Larry Nichols.
After already making a substantial donation to the museum, Devon Energy gave $500,000 more to create the Oil and Gas Energy Park, the largest exhibit of its kind in the Southwest. And this isn't the only late addition. The Red River Journey, also an outdoor exhibit, tells the story of Oklahoma's history along the Red River Valley. In truth, Oklahoma's history is not contained in the 4 galleries. It is in every part of this 18-acre property. And you want to know the funny part? There still isn't enough room.
No. In fact, I have some broadcast items that just won't fit in here. They're too big.
While everything can't be on exhibit, at least all of the state's historic treasures will be under one roof. For decades, they've been scattered at various warehouses throughout Oklahoma City. Now they're all in the basement, and those items will eventually have their day on display.
The galleries are designed to change on a constant basis. The exhibits, the components within them are all designed to be flexible. Part of what we want to do is to create an experience that's always new, always exciting, always dynamic, always participatory, that people, every time they come, they're going to see something new.
For many, the museum opening closes years of hard work, but for Dan Provo, the finish line is really just the beginning.
This is just the start. This is the thing that lets us do everything else that we want. Yes, we believe it's better than anything that we have put together before. Yes, we believe that it's going to be extraordinary in and of itself. It should be something that Oklahomans are proud of and that helps share that pride with the people literally of the world. But by the same token, it's just the start. It's just the beginning for the education programs that we see, the traveling and the temporary exhibits, the collections preservation and development, the publications, the programs, the films, the seminars, all those things that should come together here at the History Center and then begin to spread to the rest of the state.
And the History Center is designed to support all this well into the next century.
$59 million is a lot of money, any way you put it. And spending that kind of money, we wanted to make sure that the next generation would not have to walk away from that or to redesign it. And so everything we did, at least we've tried, is to make sure that it's expandable and adaptable for the future. Did we need 25-foot tall ceilings to tell the story of broadcasting? Probably not. But how will they tell the story in 25 years? Will they have technology that we've never dreamed of? Yes. Will it be holograms? Will it be creating settings of communities from the 1920s where you walk into this virtual reality? Probably. We don't understand it, but we wanted to give them the space to explore those new tools that will be available to them that are not available today. So we paid for the 25-foot tall ceilings.
The one thing that I think people will say when they come through this museum, and I'll probably hear them as they're going all around this building, will be saying, I didn't know that. That will be exciting.
One of the things that I would love to see is that when people come in, they get an immediate smile on their face and a look of wonder. They look around, they see the reproduction of Wiley Post's Winnie Mae airplane. They see the beginning of the Red River Journey outside and the waterfall. They see the Capitol building in the background, the galleries. Hopefully they're going to see great numbers of school children, of families, of people of all ages talking around, walking, laughing, having a good time, getting excited about things and sharing it with each other. A sense of life and of exploration and of excitement and fun, because it should be fun. This is serious business, preserving, sharing the history of the state, but it should be fun at the same time. There's nothing about this that should ever be boring or dull. The extraordinary nature of it is too good for that.
The Oklahoma History Center will operate 363 days a year, and curators say temporary exhibits will change every 6 months or so. The more permanent exhibits in the main galleries will also rotate as we continue making history.
For a VHS or DVD copy of this program, please send a check or money order for $22.95 to the OETA Foundation, Post Office Box 14190, Oklahoma City 73113. Or to place a credit card order, call 800-879-6382 during regular business hours.